Hello, it is 12:01 here in Milwaukee. Just want to confirm you guys can hear me. Jessica, can you hear me all right?
Absolutely.
Excellent. So let's get started. First off, thank you everyone for attending this webinar. This is with New Resources Consulting in partnership with the State of Wisconsin STAR office. Today we'll be talking about PeopleSoft WorkCenters, how we can centralize your activities and data all on one page within PeopleSoft. Today's agenda, we'll do some introductions, describe what is a work center, why you want to leverage it, the functionality that is offered in the work center. We'll do a quick demonstration of how to create a net new work center and kind of go through the state of Wisconsin success story to how they implemented a work center in their PeopleSoft instance, some lessons learned from it, and then some questions at the end. So my name is Matthew Poupitch, Senior Consultant of the ESG Group, Enterprise Solutions Group at New Resources Consulting. Been doing this for almost 10 years, and 5 years we're over the state of Wisconsin doing a PeopleSoft implementation for almost 40 agencies or so. And that was replacing several hundred legacy systems. So a lot of good experience over there. It's made me a better consultant. And we also have on the call is Jessica Harlan, ERP Business Analyst Senior at the State of Wisconsin STAR Program Office. Jessica, you want to do a quick intro?
Absolutely. Good afternoon, everyone. And again, thank you for joining. Yes, I have been with the state since 2006. I was a procurement person with multiple state agencies, including the university. And then in about 2016, I was co-opted into the STAR office. Just after the implementation of the ERP system, and I had the very good fortune of sitting right next to Matt Poupitch and learning as much as I could, including how to create a custom work center. Thank you, Matt.
Awesome. So today, we'll have a little back and forth and provide as much as we can from, the experience that we both had at the state, getting work centers up and running. And just a heads up, you could, in the chat in Teams, you could post any questions you want. We will hold off till the end to answer those questions. And if it requires us to kind of go back through and look at some things, we'll do that. So just keep the questions coming, and hope you enjoy. Thank you. And this is also being recorded, so we will post it and send it out at the end. Thanks. All right, so first question, what is a work center? Here's a screenshot of a delivered work center that you'll find in the demo environment of PeopleSoft, a buyer work center. Some of the things I just want to point out with a work center is what you'll see here on the left-hand side is kind of your actions of, unique items that you do on a day-to-day basis. So it might include links you navigate to frequently, or queries, reports, or processes. Whatever you click on this left-hand side will appear on the right-hand side. Call out some of the key things is we have different groups. So we got main, reports and queries, and then this my work right here. That's a pagelet within a group. Sorry, I have these highlighted incorrectly, but these are your groups: main, reports and queries, and then my work is a pagelet, and then pending approvals. This is essentially a navigation collection, and you could group any type of links you want into these different nav collections. And over on the right-hand side is your dashboard. So this is what could be used any type of pagelet, a pivot grid, a query, anything you want to present on the right-hand side of the screen to present information to your user. And it could be, for an example, a pivot grid that you could click on one of those bars, and if you could drill into it, you could see the detail, and then on that transaction, you could click even further and pull up the transaction itself. So the Work Center is one page that houses all of your important links, pages, reports, dashboard properties, all in one spot. One of the key things within WorkCenter is My Work. Within My Work, this is one of the pagelets. You can have different types of links. So transactions pending approvals. So here it says we have 2 requisitions pending approval. If I were to edit the filter here, we see requisitions. It has this filter. I could click on this hyperlink to edit it. And what you're going to see is, how do I want this information to be presented to my user? How did it say a count of 2 requisitions pending approval? Well, the filter is returning results based on these prompts. So right now it's business unit 00003, and I could say user ID. So show me everything for a specific user and business unit combo. So whenever the page loads, it's going to return results for a business unit. If you had some other variables defined, but then so business unit US 003, and below it shows all your transactions, and it brings you right to the page where you could take action. So My Work is a more complex feature that you could plug into a WorkCenter, and it presents users with actionable items that actually tell them you have this many transactions that you need to take action on, and they can click and quickly do it. Now, there's a whole bunch of delivered ones, but a lot of times that's not what you need. You might have to customize and build your own. We're not going to go over the creation of a My Work pagelet, but that's a longer conversation for another time. And then links. So these are just general links that you would navigate via the breadcrumbs or in Fluid through the navigation. You go to your page and you click it, and it would appear on the right-hand side of the screen. So no longer do you have to train your users on where to go to get to pages that require their actions. And you could group them in a logical fashion. So something for a business process, right? You do step 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, maybe there's 4 pages. Well, you just have those in sequential order. And it takes out some of the training efforts, some of those other variables. And the same is true for a query. You could put a list of queries that relate to your WorkCenter, as well as reports. So any reports that you have, you could put them on the left-hand side. And then also any processes. They're all links. They all appear on the right-hand side of the page. And here, why to leverage a WorkCenter.
So yeah, I think you know, definitely when you're looking at what you can do with a WorkCenter, I think it's really important to keep in mind that instead of users having to go in and search and fetch their data themselves and navigating to a variety of links, or maybe running a query or two and then going to a different page and then trying to find a resource to help them understand what kind of action they need to take. All of this information is pushed to the user in your WorkCenter. So items, you know, like My Work can be pre-populated, and users can be focused in on what kind of actions they specifically need to take. If there are other pages that they would commonly navigate to, those would be available in the WorkCenter. If there are queries that they may need to run on a regular basis, those can also be organized, and that data directly delivered to the user, all from a single page. So, you know, I kind of think of PeopleSoft as a shopping mall. And sometimes, you know, if I want to get, you know, from Sears to JCPenney or something like that, you know, I've got to walk all the way from one end to of the mall to the other. And then maybe I realize that, you know, I forgot what it was I wanted in that one aisle, and I've got to go all the way back. And so a WorkCenter really kind of streamlines that process so that your user isn't spending a ton of time figuring out where to navigate, where it is that they're attempting to get to, what resources they might need to do, you know, what documents need reconciliation or attention. All of this can be delivered in a single page, easy for them to manage, easy for them to see, and so that they're spending the majority or the bulk of their time actually doing the work, rather than trying to figure out what it is that they need to work on or where they have to go. So I really consider this, an efficiency, a time saver for the user, and really kind of optimizing their user experience. So that you're getting a better return on investment, and then the user is potentially pleased to be able to go in and do this rather than seeing it as a chore or something that they have to do. I don't know. Would you agree, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is that you don't have to. It's more intuitive. You don't have to go around a page looking through your system to go find information. The push information to people, they don't have to go like, oh, maybe I don't have any work today. You have to run 3-4 queries to identify if there's any issues or navigate to different pages, type in some prompts, and oh, search. Okay, those are my transactions I have to take action on. Right, you just go to the WorkCenter, you see counts next to your work, you have a dashboard that shows you here's all the stuff in air or things that are pending my approval, etc. And it's so much easier to navigate. Just everything overall is becoming simplified, and that's how you're going to get your users to be more efficient, more effective, and be able to spend time on the value add activities rather than poking around the system. So it's just adding to the experience and simplifying.
Mm-hmm.
So next, we have how to create a WorkCenter. There's not much to it. We're going to create a WorkCenter dashboard, add some pagelets, add the My Work links, queries, reports, and processes. And what I like to do is, barring everything goes well here, I'm going to just do a quick demo. Can you see my page here, Manage WorkCenter Dashboard?
Yes.
Excellent. So here on this page, your first step is, these are some delivered ones. We have one demo that we've already done, but AP WorkCenter, Billing WorkCenter, Buyer WorkCenter, etc. You could review these. They're there. It doesn't matter if you're HR, financial, supply chain. You can apply these anywhere. Just how you're going to apply it is the challenging part. Creation is not so difficult. So step one, create a WorkCenter dashboard. You give it a name. Just gonna call it demo. Demo. Parent folder. This is where do I want my WorkCenter to live. So I could just do purchasing, and let's select purchasing. What kind of access do you want to give it? So what permission list or role will have authority to view this WorkCenter? Whatever you guys think is appropriate for your organization, or you could just make it public. Everyone could see it. So I'm just going to leave it public for now. Click save. Oh, I made demo with a big E. Didn't mean to do that, but that's all right. So right here, I could go ahead and click on the pagelets. Now, these are, we'll first go to the layout page. So you have a basic layout, 2 columns or 3 columns. 2 columns is going to be what I was showing you in that screenshot earlier on. You have all your links on the left-hand side and then your workspace on the right. That's what your two columns is going to offer. Now in the content, you could choose a whole bunch of different type of delivered, dashboards, pivot grids, etc. And you could have it appear on the right-hand side of your screen. So I'm just going to select PO analysis as of. It's a delivered one, cool. But if you want to create your own, you could do exactly what I'm doing now. Oh, I gotta make it, change the status. I'm gonna make it required. And now it's currently on the left column. I want to shift it over so that the dashboard appears on the right. I'm gonna click save. And now I could go back to my Manage WorkCenter dashboards. I'm gonna click on demo. And notice how all I have here is not a whole lot of content. You notice I could drag this over, put it on the left side of, there's like designated spots on this right-hand side of the screen. But the first thing you're gonna have to do is you're really gonna have to configure it. So I'm gonna configure my WorkCenter. So I'm gonna create different groups. One group I'll call My Work. My Work. Display order one. Oh, actually, let's take that back. Let's call it main. And you'll see how this presents. Display order 1. I'm going to look up some pagelets. So the ones that I really care about are my work, links, queries, reports. So I just grabbed my work. I'm going to set it 1. It's a required means, or required means you cannot, the user can't personalize this and remove this group. Initially minimized. So if you have multiple links underneath this group, my work, it's going to start minimized. And if you want to expand it, you'd have to expand it. But I'll just leave that, or I'll add a second one. Sorry, add a second row here, and let's add in links. And that display row will be second in the list. So I clicked the plus sign and I added a second group. This group, I could call it reports. There we go, biggie again. Display order 2. So this will be the second group. Default, I can have the second or first group default. I have the first group defaulting. And then I'm going to create queries. So that's the other pagelet I want. And let's add reports and processes. Okay, great. Now if I hit save, you'll have to refresh your browser. I just click on demo. Here's everything I added. So I added a main and I added reports. And under main is my work and links. Under reports is reports and processes and queries. And I still have my work on the right. So now I want to populate these respective pagelets. So go to configure pagelets, search, add a new value, let's call it demo, description, demo, and new name. Just going to grab my demo link. And under my work, I could create different multiple groups underneath my work. So my first one is going to be requisitions. It's going to be the first. And then I could define what my link's going to be. Now what you're going to see here is what kind of link do you want? Do you want system defined, user list, and notification? User defined is if you create your own. System defined, they have a whole bunch of delivered my work pages, and then also events, work lists, etc. But I'm just going to do a system defined. I could click import link, search, and under payables and different object owners. So if I go to purchasing, click search, here's a handful of requisitioning related my work. So here's requisitions to be sourced. So I select that one. And the filter is going to be what I was showing you earlier. How do I want to filter this data to be presented to the user? So requisitions to be sourced, I want to maybe know, I want to know where I am the owner, maybe the buyer or a business unit. This is a delivered one. You can create your own filters if you wanted to, but right now I'm just going to select a system defined one. So, and then within this, you could also add different types of security, permissionless, role, user, and then, or just make it public. Something I'd recommend is making it public because a lot of the content, if you don't have already security access to see the data that is within this My Work pagelet, the link won't even appear. Same goes for any report, process, or query. For a link, if you don't have access to that page already by your security that's set up, if you make it public and you have access to the WorkCenter, you're only going to see links that your security grants you access to. And the same goes with a query. If you don't have access to a record that's in a query tree, you won't see that query, report and process, and so forth. So definitely easiest just to keep them public. So show count. Do I want to see the count of transactions? Sure. Just a warning, letting you know when you turn it on. And let's click save. So I haven't activated my work settings. If I go back to this demo, no change. And it's because I didn't activate. Now I'm going to activate.
There we go.
So, yeah.
Took 2.
Yes. So here we are. It's that easy to add a link. Got 31 requisitions to be sourced. And if I click it, here's all the transactions, and I could take action and make sure why didn't these source to POs, etc.
Well, you've got a lot of work to do, Matt.
I know. Push it off to tomorrow. No, that's not the right attitude. All right, so that's my work. Not too much to it, and you're going to see that there's not much to the rest of these either. So just click over in the links. Oh, one thing I should describe is allow user to personalize the display options. So you're allowing them to edit this. So if I go into personalize, I could say show count, show link. If I deselect show link, the link won't appear. So you could have a work center that has a lot of content that's valuable to a user, but maybe some users require to do more things than others and they don't want to see so much. That allows them to modify it to suit their desired config. And it's also a question in the design phase. Do you want to allow users to personalize certain content? Links. Let's create queries. So if this was like a work center that covered multiple modules, I could create a purchasing links, right? Display order 1. I could go find a link. I could click menu item, so select the menu item, and then you just navigate it to like you normally would. Purchase orders, add update POs. Override label, you could change this label description, totally optional. I wouldn't recommend it because then it's going to be more difficult for them to find it if they go through the breadcrumbs, but totally up to you. Show link, yes. I could add another link. Proof POs. Okay, so there's 2 links there. Let's add another group. Let's call it external. Display order 2. Define. Menu item, URL. You just type in a URL. Can make it public. Okay. Click save. See if I type that URL right. Go ahead and activate.
Did you set that URL to open in a new page?
Great question. Yeah. So I think they took out, so with the newer images of PeopleSoft, you no longer have to say open external links in new pages. So depending on what version of PeopleSoft you're on, I forget exactly what image it put it in, but you used to have to say open link in new window or new tab or something, and it's required for external links.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so now
because if you forget, it's not fun.
No, it is not fun. So now if I click it, oh, my weather.com URL bad. Oh, it was, sorry, bad URL. So the value of this is training everything in one location, right? You could have external like integration sites or anything where you validate data across systems or any interfaces, etc. You could have it all on one page. Just great way to consolidate a user's experience into one page. So like you saw, I had a purchasing group, I had an external group, and these just open up on the right-hand side of the page. Real simple, nothing special about it. Allow users to add additional links, that is selected. So if I wanted to, I could personalize, and I could add my own group. Fine, select. Okay, so now I just added another group. Sorry, I realized I did that a little quick, but here's my personal links group, and I added Workbench. So you're giving the user a little power to add things that maybe you don't deem are appropriate for the entire enterprise for a given work center, but maybe for them, they do agree that, you know, this applies to them, but not necessarily everyone. Nice little feature. Queries. I'm just going to say purchasing again because I'm not original. Display order 1, query name.
It's original enough.
Let's see. Sure, show link, access. So again, you could add security, but you already have embedded security in your system that is related to your user profile and permission lists, roles, etc. I should say query trees, but if you make it public, it doesn't mean they're going to see it if they don't have that security ready. If they don't have that security, they won't see this link.
You know, one thing I just wanted to mention that can be really handy about the access is if you have, you know, say a timekeeping work center, and you have, you know, different levels of supervisors or subordinates accessing the work center, and you want to direct them to different queries to be running or different page processes, you could actually set that security to specific roles just so that they will be directed upon entry of this is exactly what I need to do. This is my group, it pertains to me, and even though I may have access to those other things, they're not showing for my role because these are the actions that I need to take. And that's, I think, one really nice way of being able to create that work center from the administrator's side is that you have one location where you can maintain all of these things, but then have multiple end user groups or multiple end user types that have access and can make the most of that work center.
That is a great point. Yeah, you're tailoring it to the user experience so that they're not bombarded with a whole bunch of links. They're only seeing the ones that really pertain to them and their role or action. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's a creative way to design the work center, right? That's awesome. I didn't think of that. Perfect. So great tip. I'm going to go ahead and save, activate, and refresh my queries. So here's my query, it pops up. Nothing much to it. And if your query prompted the user to define some variables, it would just show that page first and you could download it. It always comes with a link to Query Manager if your user has security for it. And then reports and processes. So reports. That's redundant. Let's say purchasing, because that's not redundant.
Of course not.
No. So within purchasing, we have reports. Let's say review. Well, let's go in reports. Let's go to detailed listing. Great. Save, and I'm going to create another group. Maybe it's better to be purchasing reports. Save, activate, and then I'm going to add another one that's well, sorry, screen's a bit blurry. Couldn't see where my cursor was. Let's add a process to this. Purchasing, purchase orders, stage, PO auto sourcing. Great. Okay, so Here's my purchasing process. Here's my purchasing reports. Again, nothing fancy. I think we did that, a little longer than I expected, but that's the creation of a work center. Now, I think a lot more value is going to be understanding what it takes to design your work center. What is the methodology you put in place to go about doing it? And this is an opportunity to look at a work center that's been around for a while at the state of Wisconsin. Jessica can kind of walk you through it, and you'll recognize all the thought that was put into it and what you can really do for your organization to highlight its capabilities to enhance your user experience.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and start my demonstration. Please forgive me. I am not extremely adept with using the Teams software, but I'm learning as I go.
You're doing
great. Thank you. Here in the state of Wisconsin, we designed what was originally termed as the year-end close work center. And eventually, it metamorphosed into the procurement work center. Sorry, my husband was walking around behind me, distracting me. We created this work center, unlike a number of the delivered work centers, to span across a process of year-end close and specifically the PO role. And so we wanted something that would encompass multiple business areas and encourage that collaboration from the procure-to-pay perspective and get that whole life cycle in a single work center. We also created our dashboard here and put a few graphs in which are referred to as snapshots, and these are custom views that are created to show about 14 categories across our various transaction types. So we have requisitions, purchase orders, and PO vouchers. We have created this also with a message center and a nav collection, which takes us to some external links that have a variety of task lists or a job aid for the beginning user so that they can familiarize themselves with how to use the work center, how to personalize that, as Matt was showing you earlier. And then once they are familiar, they can use our toolkit in order to figure out exactly what it is that they need to take action on. So within this work center, we just have a couple of the pagelets up. We have the links under the My Links tab, and then I also have a page up for queries. And these are kind of broken out into our various business areas. So users are able to roll and unroll these various groupings, and they are just kind of organized into an order of operations per se. So we're going to start with our requisitions, which then are sourced into our purchase orders, and then those are vouchered. Once we do our PO roll, we actually unroll this link here, the group, so that users can kind of see a series of queries that will be for our post-roll process. And then specific to my view here, I have a couple of admin sections that are have some specific security associated to them so that our end users can't see some of these things. They would actually have access to run these queries if they tried. It's just a number of these items are very detailed, or they have very specific types of information that our end users may not necessarily be interested in. Again, this is kind of, set up to take the user through a series of items and also to encourage some collaboration between our groups. So if we have a requisition processor and they're wondering, hey, what's happening with my requisitions? Did those purchase orders, did they get vouchered yet? all of those groups can kind of go in and take a look and have an immediate bird's eye view of what's going on with the system. So, potentially a division administrator or a supervisor goes in and says, for my specific business unit, and I have access to all of them, but they would just see those business units that are included in their permission list. They could also turn those off and on and set up a variety of filters. And they would be able to see right away, we've got some budget errors, or we've got some items that haven't yet been approved. It's getting close to year end. Everything should be in approved status. And they can kind of go in and take a look at some of these documents and get that detailed view. So I could take a look for some of these items and pending approval. And then if I have access to some pages, those pages will show up here, and I'll kind of get a pick list of where I could go. And so for a number of these items, if I wanted to go into, the add update page and take a look at that, I could take a look. If I was looking at budget exceptions, I could pull up that page. And where applicable, we've added, these search keys that will pre-populate. Now, of course, I'm pulling up something that's pending approval. So if I click search now, it would not show up with a budget exception, most likely. But that's where users are able to go ahead and do their work directly on the page. Some of these items come up in a what's called a modal window, and others, create a new page for users to get into. However, for many of our super users, these items that are available here and then some all have a query that's going to open up a little more detail. So potentially, I'm a buyer and I manage several divisions, and I'd like to look across there and kind of just see, what it is I'm looking at. Now, this particular item, my users have been excellent at reconciling, so they're not going to see any inactive buyers. Maybe I should find a query that's going to deliver let's look at some of these items. But we have, a number of these queries set up to provide some detailed information out to the user, as well as some drilling hyperlinks to take them directly to a transaction. And of course, I did pick a query here that's got a long processing time. I think that's probably because I, again, do have access to all of the BUs in this environment, and my little wheel of hope looks like it's going to spin for a while. So I will let that spin, and I am just going to bring over a new fresh page. Hopefully you all can see my new page. If you can confirm that for me, Matt.
Yep, looks good.
Great. So, again, we have, organized in a variety of links, both of the internal links, and I also have the external links here. And so these would be, some job aids. If a user is working on a transaction, potentially they're working on a sourcing error for a requisition, and they see something that they don't understand, they would be able to directly click on the job aid that accompanies that item and get some, quick instructions or a quick reminder of what it is that they're supposed to do in order to reconcile that document. We also have, some links that go to a variety of webinars, similar to what we're doing today, that we kind of, take users through. So if there was a particular subject that they wanted to see, they could go back and look at that. If we have messages or items that we need to highlight for just in time, potentially we are going to turn on a new process, we have created a new job aid or published a new query, or potentially something in the system has happened, a job has failed, and we need to notify users right away. We can go ahead and modify this information very quickly in our message center, and the users will be able to be alerted. This is something that's really a nice feature because since enacting the WorkCenter, this has provided, a definite consistency in our communication because no longer are users searching for an email with the instructions. They don't have to ask the person in the cube next to them who may or may not be there right now, and they're not fumbling around trying to figure out where to get the information or what it is that they need to do. All of that is located in a single location. All of the queries that we want users to be directed to, all of the updated information is all available to them here, so they're not using old, outdated materials. They have all of that there, and it really kind of is a time saver, as well as, it really drives that user behavior. So we've seen definite, increase at users reconciling their documents and being more timely with what it is that they're doing. They also all have access to the same information. They're not dependent on, individual agency or supervisor notifications to make sure that they have that information. This is all organized for them in a single location. And so I think that has really been very valuable to our users at helping them prepare for our year-end process, and in addition, on a monthly basis, to kind of go in and make sure that, at month end, they're reconciling their transactions, they're tidying up, and keeping everything fresh throughout the year. So as Matt mentioned earlier, if users don't have access to these items, they won't appear on their list. So the user won't suddenly click on a link here and see, admin error, ask your admin for access to this page. They'll just see a nice clean page where they can go ahead and search for their particular documents and then go ahead and reconcile right on the page, and then move on to the next activity. All right, anything to add about this one, Matt, since you had so much experience in helping me set up this WorkCenter?
Yeah, what I would like to add is you guys saw me create a WorkCenter in 15, 20 minutes. This didn't take 15 or 20 minutes. There was a lot of thought, design, build. How do we want to address an issue and even identify the issue that we wanted to address? The year-end close just became a natural, organic idea that came to light, and how a WorkCenter could improve that situation. It's complex. There's so many moving pieces. You saw the number of links that she had for actionable pages, the job aids, and also on the My Queries reports. Those are all custom queries to identify problems that are going to slow down to year end, right? So it's an effort to bring all that information on one page because there is so much. And the updates, the links to job aids, how-to documents, snapshots for a primary candidate, like the key features for a manager to come to this page and be like, okay, what's my BU? This is how many trying to say, okay, we're looking pretty good, or oh my gosh, we have so much work to do. Let's get on it. And just how nice it is for this to be year end, or which was rebranded into procurement. And the next slide I have is success story, but this is the success story. This coming out and, the impact it made to have a more smooth year end.
Yeah, definitely, both for the individual agency users as well as for the STAR office and the state controller's office. It was, you know, quite a lift for us to get through those first couple years of the PO roll and year-end close. And then, third year is a charm. This really did make a big difference.
All right. Well, I'll share again, and
Okay.
guys over to the slide deck. So success story, kind of just talked about it. That's the year-end close. Lessons learned, as Jessica mentioned. It was process-driven, cross-functional. A lot of the delivered work centers that you'll see are module focused. It's easy to create these, but the efforts in the design, the methodology, what you want to accomplish, and then delivering that solution. Ability to leverage dashboard to push data and messages and external links to your user. Everything's in one spot, and it's easy to enhance your work center as you go. You could quickly update and modify and tweak as you learn.
Yeah, as Matt mentioned earlier, definitely, my best advice in going through this process, was we explored a number of different avenues, and I kind of wrote down a little wish list of everything I'd like to see. And then, just kind of one by one, we mapped that out and, put a little thought into how we could accomplish some of these items. So, some of the items in the wish list weren't able to be accomplished then. They might never, make it into the work center, but we were able to then, kind of pinpoint some of those basics of, what we wanted to display to users and how we wanted it to display. And again, the idea of pushing that data to them so that, users wouldn't be left to wonder, oh, I hope somebody's reconciling those documents, or I hope somebody made sure everything was budget checked. Now they're able to see that right away. And then, that is going to increase the speed at which they can, head off some of these problems. Additionally, for us as administrators, we use the Work Center too. Last year, there was a small explosion and a fire. Fortunately, nobody was injured, but this happened the night before we were set to do PO roll. And so when I logged into the Work Center, I was able to see right away that a process had taken place that had inactivated every buyer in the system. And I was able to see that on one of the categories I'm tracking, because that definitely affects my ability to roll over those purchase orders and re-encumber them. So, having that quick bird's eye view allowed us to resolve that issue in under an hour and salvage that, PO roll process and move forward. So, definitely when you're thinking about creating a work center, if you just kind of get your basics down and think about, what you want to display and how you want to display that to your users, and then maybe, invite a few key functional users to look at the work center, test it out, and give a little feedback, and then, be prepared to make changes along the way. We certainly did. We made lots of changes, lots of tweaks, added a lot of functionality, and we had a lot of fun doing it. We really did have a great time creating the Work Center and seeing, all of the positive feedback that we got. I think one of our biggest critics for our user, and she's critical because she knows so much and she is such a super user, but she described it as beautiful. and immediately wanted more. Immediately came up with a list of all the new things and additional things she wanted to see. But that was great. It's really improved our communications as well as our working relationship with our customers, because they're seeing what we're seeing and we're seeing what they're seeing. And again, then this is that collaboration, and that ability to roll out that information and provide those resources and training right away, has been just so enhanced. Over to you, Matt.
All right, awesome. All good content. So thank you. And we have time for questions. If
9
anyone,
minutes.
I know, look at that. It's like perfect timing. So if you have any questions, unmute your mic and you can ask away, or if you want to chat, you could type them into the Teams chat box. And if not, we'll give you guys a couple minutes here, see if anything comes in. Well, not quite a couple minutes, but I think it was a fair pause. And first and foremost, I'd like to thank Jessica. Thank you for participating in this. Your content is what makes it valuable to see what you can really do with the WorkCenter for an organization, and also hearing how successful it can be. So thank you, and thank you everyone else for attending. We will send out the recording so that you can reference it later.
Me.
Yes, you're so welcome. All right, everyone, take care. Thank you.